The one thing that transcends time and space is love. There is a thing I learned actually from a former assistant of mine where I'm like really upset about something that was really hurting me. And then I was like, but I shouldn't complain. And she was like, stop, Amir. That's toxic positivity. I had this grandmother that I never met. Shout out to Bronya. She was a Holocaust survivor. She was a refugee. She lost everything. When my mom was 7 or 8, they took a train and they had no money. They were hungry and they only had enough money for one sandwich and one drink. She bought them the sandwich. My little mom started splitting it in half to share with her mother. But Bronya said, no. We split it 3 ways. One for you, one for me, and for someone less fortunate than us. The key to life is figuring out how to create boundaries without being a dick.
Right, like who determines you're the dick?
I think that's perspective.
You're such a dick for saying that.
I know.
What podcast has this turned into?
This is our first actual podcast episode fully here, where we have a guest, because we've done one or two here.
Yeah,
but we have a wonderful guest. I'm gonna let you introduce him because I know him. This is my brother, so I'm gonna let you introduce him.
You know what? I did some homework on this guest and did a little bit of research and
don't believe anything you read.
Learning more about him. As far as an intro goes, I think you would do more justice with his career background and whatnot. I did familiarize myself quite a bit. He's done some really cool, amazing things around acting, giving back, especially around animals that don't have a home. He's a remarkable human being. Really what stood out to me was his heart and his kindness as a human being tend to stick out with anything that he does, anywhere he goes. It seems to be a pretty important piece of who he is as an individual. Yeah. So I'm excited for this episode. Yeah, primarily for that reason, and also to learn more about his career and what matters to him.
That's actually beautiful, brother. I'm going to add to that because my brother wears his heart on his sleeve.
I haven't even spoken yet, and I'm going to cry.
He's an actor. He's a director. He's a philanthropist. He's just a good brother, a good friend. One of the friends that it's especially at my age in life, in your 40s, you don't think. And we've discussed this before, that you're going to meet people that you actually bond with and that you adore and that you connect with, and it's genuine and real. They actually let you in and make space for you in a life that's already filled with beautiful people. And you made room for me the same way I made room for you, my brother. And my brother, Amir Arison, like, I love you. Thank you for joining us on the Lucky Sergio Show.
Thanks for being here.
What an intro. First of all, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, my friend. I have to say, I've done a few podcasts before, in the sort of the age of social media and podcasts, and I've never gotten an intro like that. It's usually about he's worked on this and he started his career in that and he grew up here. And so I just got introed with like, really very sweetly.
The love you deserve, brother, your flowers.
It's rare to make, really close friends in your 40s. It happens, colleagues, bonds, allies, or you share shared experiences, but like just making a friend and hanging out with each other independent of anything career or any sort of agenda, or a lot of relationships in this world are transactional, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. You get love or you give love, but this is, if the only transaction that happens here is looking out for each other. And so, we met 8 years ago.
8 years ago.
9 years.
8 or 9 years ago, yeah.
And we just met at a premiere, and it was like, yo, you're cool. And you had seen the Blacklist.
Yes.
And you said really nice things, but then we ended up hanging out that night, and that was a wrap.
It was magical that night. Shout out to Neve Schulman, because that's kind of how everything happened. They're kind of like doppelgangers of each other.
Neve Schulman introduced you guys? Or?
No. Actually, we just noticed that they looked like, it was actually Ty Hunter. Shout out to Ty Hunter, my former business partner. Yeah. Love him. And he noticed that they looked alike and brought them together. And then we took a picture that is now iconic that I love, and I always bring it up every now and then. And I had met a few people from the show that he was on, the Blacklist, which is a very big show. But the connection with this brother was just so real, so genuine.
What part about it was real and genuine? I mean, what brought you guys together?
You know what? Because he wasn't looking for anything from me and I wasn't looking for anything from him, is what I felt. And a lot of times, like back to what you said about being transactional, people would meet me. I'm sure people would meet you. And, oh, you're a publicist, or you do this. People meet me and they just want to know who I know, or can I get this picture, or can I meet this person? And literally, we were just talking about each other, how we grew up and life and our families. And that's very rare to happen, especially in those settings. And it literally was instantaneous with his brother.
We were down the same row at this movie premiere.
We sure were.
So rare, and the person I was with at that time recognized Ty, and you were like, "Yo," something like, "Do you know them?" I was like, "No, do you?" And then it was like,
yeah.
And then we just all like hung out that evening. He's a magnet. He's a magnet of love, and he's also, look at him. He's cool. He's cool looking. The man's got style. You know,
thank you, bro.
Want to be around a good vibe.
Thank you, bro. But we need to get into you right now, brother.
Does it take a magnet to know a magnet?
I don't think it takes a magnet to know a magnet, but it takes a magnet to understand a magnet.
If they're facing the right direction, they go, Phoom.
Yep.
And facing the wrong direction.
And we were literally at the right place and right time. And I think at a point where I needed someone like him, because there's times where that you don't know. There are times when you popped up in my life in real times where people I knew my entire life didn't show up for me. And that's something that I'll never forget. And what I love about him is he will always tell me the truth. Even when it's uncomfortable, even when it hurts.
Why is that important?
He was worth fighting for.
And you don't hear that often. Damn, that just made my whole heart just like mushy and gushy. Because he approached me with something right at my hospital bedside and told me something. And that's a hard moment to tell someone the truth. But to me, it's the most important, because when you're most vulnerable, it teaches you about yourself, how you respect or love that person. And he was able to share something with me that he thought, he was like, hey, I'm not going to go into it. And then I looked at him. I said, are you really telling me this now? He said, when I'm going to wait. He said, I'm going to wait till next week. He said, I got you here now. We're going to talk about this. And we talked about it. We both realized we both were right in many ways, but there was something that we need to work on personally with ourselves and our friendship. And we did the work. And it made our bond even stronger. And I don't have anyone like that who's ever approached me, to tell me that, your shit stinks sometimes.
Well.
And you could, it wasn't that deep, but I'm just saying that he showed up for me in that way. I said, this brother actually really genuinely cares about me and loves me. And then when you know what love looks like in that format, you can't accept anything else around you. You set the bar.
He was too special. I didn't want to, like I said, you don't make good friends, and I don't want time or a missed meetup or something to turn into anything that it is not or doesn't have to be. There are things that are better face to face than on a phone or on a text or something. And
I have some questions. I'd love to kind of pull out, if that's okay. It's okay if I pull out real quick.
What are you pulling out of?
What am I pulling out of? I'm pulling out of the current conversation.
Sergio, we just met.
So when we first met on FaceTime with Black Hole, oh god,
is that a joke?
Yesterday we were talking about black holes. And what's the first thing that comes to your mind when I say black holes? Like, what's the first thing?
Bro, well, now you got it. Now you changed it. Well, I literally just watched Interstellar last night. I'm absolutely fascinated with black holes. I literally watched it
First time?
No, second time. I wanted my
girl to see it. This up.
Did you not watch Interstellar last night?
Literally, when I was here last night, I started it for the first time last night.
Interstellar.
What
time were you watching it?
This is insane.
I watched it from like 8 to 11.
Bro,
Come on,
literally
love is the fifth dimension.
Bro, we were sitting at that time.
Literally at that time talking about Interstellar.
And he was telling me, have you ever seen Interstellar? And I was like, no. I was like, what? I said it, but I've been meaning. I heard about it. So I said, text it to me right now, because when I go home,
wait, I'm going to see what I texted.
I said, text it to me right now, because I'm going to go home. And I said, I'm going to start it tonight because I'm tired. And I said, I'll absorb it while I'm
Did
sleeping.
you start it?
I started it.
I sent it at 6:51 p.m.
That was yesterday
What time did you start it?
at around 8:30, 9
Okay,
o'clock.
here's what we actually probably maybe.
So-
I gotta dive one in.
This is crazy.
That
Go
is
ahead,
insane.
go.
I don't usually watch movies twice, but I really wanted, Kathy, I really wanted her to see it. Whoa, because I don't want to give away for those who haven't seen the movie. There is a thing about time and space and dimension and when things, how things. It's a very. I can't stop thinking about this.
Such a good movie.
That is insane. And he was just telling
Where's
me.
your bookshelf?
He was.
It's that joke.
He said you need to do this,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh my god! And then
I
you
stayed
bring
up last
that
night,
up.
by the way, for 2 hours going into like AI, talking about I talked about, and then I walked the dog and I was talking to AI about the movie. Just wanted to know. There's a companion book about the real physics that are involved in the movie. They had a real scientist, like a super brain, talking about the show about what's real, what's conjecture, what's projection, and what's assumption, and then what's pure fiction that they can't know. That is like the movie, but that's part of imagination, and imagination is something that is uniquely human. And imagination, where does the source of imagination come from? It's a lifetime lived. I'm just making this up, but like a lifetime lived mixed with an inspiration that you don't know where it comes from. It's full of things like, writers talk about when they're writing, they have an idea. All of a sudden the characters start talking and they're just writing through them. If I'm having a great performance, there's this great story about Laurence Olivier. He was considered one of the world's greatest actors of all time. He did this performance of Hamlet that was apparently like legendary, like absolutely like legendary. Okay. And then after the curtain call, the bows, he stormed to his dressing room, and John Gielgud, who was like the second biggest legend, who played his best friend Horatio on the show, came into his room and Larry, what's wrong? You're utterly brilliant. And Laurence Olivier just looks at him and goes, but can I do it again? Because there's things that come from, they call it from the theater gods, that come through you, that you are literally a vessel. This would sound so hooey to me as a young man, but I absolutely believe this stuff. And as a director, I remember once I was like, I can't figure this thing out. And the more I tried to figure it out, there was this unique tech issue that we had. And I was like, how can I fix this? And then I just said, just let it be.
Yes.
Let it be for now. You don't have to solve everything right there. And I remember I literally was watching a basketball game like 3 days later. Not really a big drinker, but that night I decided to pour myself a glass of wine and just relax because rehearsals have been, challenging. And I was sitting there and I remember pouring it, and I was like, I got it.
That's
and
how it
I was
comes.
not thinking of it. I immediately had the solution, and it became a guiding principle for the rest of
You weren't
the thing.
thinking about it. So
It
it just
appeared.
It just appeared.
This is a huge thing. And this is like a huge inspiration. Like athletes talk about, there's a flow state. Basketball slows down as people who score 50 points and they can't miss. It's called a flow state. Time slows down.
Yeah.
Time literally slows down, and that's kind of a flow state is like another topic. But like, I am on this stuff. I'm very, very, very fascinated right now. It's like taken a lot of my sort of like my personal is like the science of miracles.
Yes. Oof.
Science of miracles.
The science of miracles. And I actually think
does that mean-
Interstellar is one of the best examples that demonstrates a deep philosophy that I have. And it's funny, there was a speech by Anne Hathaway's character, Brand. And there's a speech, and I was like, I paused it. I was like, that's my philosophy. That's what I preach. And then I was like, I couldn't remember. Did I pick that up from this movie?
Wow.
I couldn't remember what came first. I was like, I must have picked that up from this movie because I was thinking, but I think maybe I picked it up unconsciously because I don't remember picking it up from this movie. And it's something I started preaching that I came to on my own a few years later. So it must have been a big clue in or something. Anyway, yeah.
So let's say you do watch movies, read books, articles. There's always stuff happening around us. We're absorbing a lot of things. It's going somewhere maybe far back deep into the subconscious mind. It's called a bookshelf. Who's pulling the book out?
Or who's pushing the book out?
Oh, magic finger.
Or pulling it out or pushing out. If you've seen Interstellar, this is sort of a deep reference, but in sort of the metaphor state.
Because the thought just came to you. So did you pull that thought out, or did?
Oh, it's almost like it doesn't matter.
Oh, but I just got something.
Because I can't know. And that to me is one of the examples of the science of miracles. There are studies, brain lights up during imagination. There's certain brain things, the neuroplasticity happens with deep, deep, deep meditation, and brainwaves happen, enlightenment happens. So it could maybe be related to some of those moments. I would be so bold to say I'm anywhere near that. But so who pulls and pushes it? There's unconscious forces. And even if you're not religious, if you're science-based, there are unconscious forces in nature and nurture, your epigenetics and your genetics that predispose you to certain things. There is the concept of the soul. There are socioeconomic forces. There are world forces. There's magnetism. There's quantum physics. There's gravity. These things are pulling at you. Where does it come from? It's in my opinion, I love this question now. I had no answer for it, is the confluence of all those things.
What does confluence mean?
Confluence is the coming together. It's like its own ecosystem. The ecosystem of the ocean has all that. Why is that coral growing? Because the water and the temperature, and the fish ate that, and the dolphin ate that, and so the confluence of all those things created that beautiful coral. And so that beautiful moment is come out of some insane confluence of. Is that what happens?
Play that shit. Oh my God. Yes.
Yo, where's your tambourine?
My tambourine's in the bag. I got it in the bag. Oh my God.
We did this thing when we get excited, we have to play the
tambourine. Oh my God. So you're the first one getting this from us. Oh my God, yes.
I want to add one thing about that. This can be explained by scientists will attempt to explain this, and religious people will attempt to explain this. Not to make it binary, because you can be both or neither or so forth. And neither are wrong to me.
Yeah.
We were just talking about improv because these two are starting to take an improv class.
Oh, yes.
It's hilarious. And I was like, oh my God, $450. Yeah. This is right behind you. I just told you, the number one lesson in improv is yes and. You have to say yes and. So I say yes to both of them. Yes and. The thing that I know for sure, whether it's science or that that has my certainty, the one thing that transcends time and space is love.
Yeah.
It is love. It is we see it certainly in mammals, in the animal kingdom. Not all animals, but mammals certainly do it. That's why I really feel like there are brothers. Okay, yes, go ahead, harmonica.
No.
I've been on this. So I get kooky about this stuff now.
I love this.
Why yes and? Why is that?
But wait, I want to add something to what he's saying before we go into the why yes and. I think when you were talking about who's pushing the book and where this is coming from, what you were saying made me see something and see how this is different. It's almost like we're tapping into something. So the silence allows the body to reconnect, is what I feel.
Silence allows you to listen.
Allows you to listen, but also it allows you to go through the file cabinet. And what I mean by that is we are literally everything. You're me, I'm you, I'm this chair. Where,
we're made out of stardust.
It's like when you say what is God, and you say God isn't everything. So when you start silencing yourself and letting the thought flow freely, what you're actually doing is you're flicking through all the files of memory that are in our DNA, that are connected to the things that we already know. Because we know everything, kind of, because we're connected to everything. But we have to
source.
Exactly. So then we have to connect to the source. And in that silence, which seems like we're letting go and we're not doing something, that file is just constantly going until we click the right one. And then we have the aha moment, and then it uploads. We're like, oh shit, there it is.
Well, what is the source?
We are. Everything is the source. Then that's why the silence is important, because you have to just silent and kind of let it flow and let that water run through the system.
It's an endless search.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, it is scientifically everything is connected. Everything is connected. But what is that source? That's the question for all the theologians, philosophers, scientists.
Some call it the universe.
Darwinians, scholars. No one will agree on all of it. I think a good movie that sort of talks about source like that is Avatar. I haven't seen the recent one.
I need to see
all the
one
trees
too.
And they plug in with the thing. That's a big movie about ecology and nature and so forth. But that's a good example of the source. Also, The Matrix is a very good one about source.
And that's what we talked about yesterday.
I mean, when I saw Matrix, I was like, "Wow, amazing fiction movie." As I get older, I'm like,
"Wait a minute,
maybe everything is." A projection, of unconscious reality. I when I saw that, I was like, cool movie, great idea. And I was like,
wait a minute.
Now I was like, I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it is.
Mm-hmm.
what podcast has this turned into?
Yeah, no, exactly. Oh my, we need Neil deGrasse Tyson on here next.
Well, that's where I got Neil deGrasse Tyson is where I got Stardust.
Oh wow,
when he broke it down, he's
too.
like, we're a little of the atoms and molecules is the same of stars that we can trace back to billions of years. Well, the human race we only know has existed like a few thousand years.
Yeah,
We're made of stars.
yes.
Was that from the Interstellar? I heard that.
Neil deGrasse Tyson,
Yeah.
the scientist, he's really like a good advocate and a public face for, study science, know this and this and that. He's really accessible with the way he speaks about sort of complex topics and, astrophysics and so forth. He's the one that I
He's my go-to. He makes it so much fun, and he's
got a
really
few
draws
Netflix
you in.
series.
Yeah, exactly.
On the call that we had before you came on the show, we had like a little synergy call. One of the first things that came up that you kept touching on throughout the entire conversation was you said you're allergic to complaining. Where did that come from? And is it ever hard to live by?
I'm going to add the synergy conversation we had. Synergy is a great word for when a confluence of events work together in harmony without expecting it to lead to some inspiration or clarity or euphoria or resolution or solution. It's a great question. I always think about sort of certain things of is it nature or nurture, or something beyond that. There's a big part of it that does come from my mom. But my mom does complain. We talk a lot about funny stuff. And, I have a little bit of an allergy to small talk. It doesn't excite me, and it's part of life. It's part of social structure and all that stuff. And I can enjoy it to a degree, but it's the real stuff. It's like, which we went to right when we met.
Yes.
Like the real stuff.
We dove in.
It might be cliche, but there's always so much to be grateful for. And that really is one of the keys to kind of figuring out how to navigate through this very challenging world and life we live. As much as there is terrible things going on in the world, there is so much beauty.
Yes.
There is so much. I'm grateful for this glass and this sparkling water that you have given me and the generosity. I can just go on and on about, look at this light that we get to fire that we've brought into this room. Look at this technology where we get to capture this synergy. I'm probably, people are going to watch this and think that I'm out of my mind.
Like woo-woo or something.
There really is. Look, we all have phones, our little computers. Like who could have imagined this when we were kids?
This is like
Meet George Jetson.
Beyond.
Jane,
I feel like
his
George
wife.
Jetson is not even as close as us now.
Seriously.
Yes. So with complaining, there's studies about this. It just doesn't get you anywhere. There are the 4 agreements that we've all talked about. Be impeccable with your word. Don't personalize. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best.
Yes.
I can be pretty good with my word, but the thing about being impeccable with your word is use your word to not speak against yourself or others. I feel like I can practice not speaking about others. I can do pretty good. It's not always easy. We're human beings. Certainly pillow talk. You got to vent sometimes, or you do your therapist. That's you can unless you're like an actualized Buddhist. I don't see a person not being able to but in general, I feel like I have a strong limit, but not talking against yourself is a challenging thing.
Yeah.
That's a challenging thing.
That's the hardest part sometimes.
Oh my God. I feel like I can cheer anybody up but myself I'll go into these other practices. Not to personalize is harder, but I've gotten better at it. Making assumptions is really hard because you can recognize instinct, something's off there, but don't make an assumption of what you know what it is.
That part.
I had a real friend that was distant from me, and I was like, what did I do? What did I do? What was it? And try to connect and so forth. And it was years. And then I found out that person had been going through this thing and it was just shutting themselves down to everybody. And our vibe was great.
Yeah.
And I was like, it wasn't about you, Amir, at all. It was about them. But they wouldn't let me be there for them. They didn't want, and it was their circumstance. And then the always do your best, it's a principle that I got from my parents, but people are complaining. I'm like, do you know that you are living in the 0.00001% of the opportunity of the world's population, and it only can happen at this little blip in history and time for all that? What are you complaining about?
Yeah.
Your salary's not as high as that person?
Yeah.
Nothing is fair.
Yeah.
Nothing is fair. But whatever you want, know that 1 billion people want what you have. You're jealous of that one person, 1 billion people would literally die to have what you have to give to their kids.
Yeah.
So I can see that and I can catch myself on that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
There is a thing I learned actually from a former assistant of mine who's a really good friend of mine. Shout out to Iz. where I'm like really upset about something that was really hurting me about, sort of, it was once a work situation. And then I was like, but I shouldn't complain. And she was like, stop, Amir. That's toxic positivity. You can complain. You can be upset about this. You don't have to like.
I've never heard that term before. Toxic positivity.
Yeah.
Have you heard that before?
I've never heard that, but I understand it.
Yeah.
100%.
So now I allow myself to be like, yeah, you gotta be upset and let it out.
Yeah, because it does become a point where positivity is an act for some people.
Yes.
I can say I'm guilty of that because there was a time where I just wanted to pretend I was happy and I was going through stuff. And I think Amir has witnessed that with me with certain people. I would just pretend everything was okay. And I wouldn't live in the moment or the emotion or allow myself to deal with it properly, which then affected other relationships and other things that I was dealing with. So I'm glad you actually brought that up because I don't think people talk about that enough, especially going on the healing journey. But continue.
How do you get past that? Yeah. How do you, once you identify that you have some traits of toxic positivity, how do you get around that?
I hope I don't have traits of toxic positivity. Yeah, I actually I agree. I'd have to look up what exactly it means. But what I'd say is you give others grace, you give forgiveness to others, give yourself grace to give yourself forgiveness for complaining is not a big deal. Like I'm a human being. Yeah. I'm not going to beat myself up over that, and forgive yourself for maybe something you did in the past that you're like, man, that wasn't, we have to grow and learn. I am a big believer in forgiveness. I don't necessarily know that the PRISM system called rehabilitation does rehabilitation. I don't agree with that. There's got to be other ways to help people, but we need to put dangerous people away. Like I'm not as expert on that. I haven't studied that field enough.
Something you mentioned earlier about you had a friend who was going through their issues, and I'm guilty of that too. When I've had friends going through stuff and I'm like kind of beating myself up, well, why didn't they let me call? Because I'm used to being everyone's healer, everyone's shoulder. So when someone doesn't come to me, I kind of get offended by that. I'm like, well, I'm the world's greatest pillow. Why didn't you lay on me? And I had to learn.
Be a rescuer.
Exactly.
You wanted to be a rescuer and you wrapped your identity around that.
Exactly. But then there's also a point where I'm like, not realizing that the universe is, or God, or whatever you want to call it, is giving me the space to actually deal with myself, but I'm choosing to focus on everyone else and I don't want to deal with me. And then I had to start realizing it was time for me to just cut some things off and really start to understand who I was as a person, what I needed to heal, what I needed to grow. And then when I took that journey, then everything started to change and flourish for me, especially when I went on the health journey. That was the biggest. And you were one of the people that really helped me see that, because you were one of the people that told me, Lucky, you got to start choosing you. You have all these dreams and all these things you want to do. Well, what steps have you taken towards this thing today? One time you asked me a couple of years ago and I was like, I've been talking about that for 6 months, but I didn't do one thing in the direction of actually executing that. And I said, but that's what good friends are. Good friends are not only a mirror, but they also hold the mirror up to you, yourself, and allow you to look at yourself and challenge yourself. So
not everyone's ready to receive that, like to get that kind of direct.
No, you have to be up the ladder of I don't want to say emotional intelligence. A lot of people walk around 6 feet above ground or 5'3" above ground. Or 5'3", you know what I mean? It's harder to find people that walk 10 feet above the ground. I'm not saying like they're better than anyone. It's like, think of it like a Buddha ascending, where you can look down and see the macro. Oof. I read this recently. If you're feeling really stressed or worried about something, or mad at something that somebody did, imagine yourself on a mountain or way up in space, looking down over your whole life, and then value how important that is.
Proof.
Yeah.
Why that matters. So how are you what kind of value are you going to give it to it now? And it steals your juju. And the reason I can talk about this is because I'm not good at it. I do personalize things. I am better at it. When I turned 40, I remember my mom said, Amir, on your 40th birthday, I want for you one thing. I wish for you the courage to be disliked.
Ooh.
Damn.
Can you tell your mom to take a shoe off my foot because she just stepped all on my toe?
And then with Lucky, you met my mom once at a birthday party, right? Like a year and a half ago. But she's known about Lucky for 8 years. She's like, that's a very special friend. Without ever having meeting him. Also, I do realize not everybody's on the level. People are, People have trauma, they have their issues, or they're a bad seed or whatever. They have different politics and entrenched in their life. You cannot solve people, fix people, or change people, or assume the good in everybody. Like that was a lesson for me over time too. You have to create boundaries. You can only do so much. Being a rescuer can cause you problems or so forth. Like, so you've got to read the room. You've got to read the room. You've got to be alive and be safe.
That's right.
And I know that I'm vulnerable. I'm vulnerable. I'm going to say I'm an empath, and I'm vulnerable. I can't even watch.
Have you always been that way? Were you born that way, or was it learned?
It's funny you say that. I always look for the source of that. Curious about the source of that in other people. And me and him have talked about that. We have very different upbringings, but arrived at a lot of the same conclusions through our own way. So we had two different upbringings. Was that upbringing? What forces in our life did that? Were we born with it? Two things I think about that. One, I had this grandmother that I never met. Shout out to Bronya. This is what I'm talking about. I've never met her, and I love her. Just from the few things I've heard about her. That's my mom's mom. Things about my mom says about her mother, I'm like, Mommy, it sounds like you're describing you. But now over time, I'm hearing other levels of it that I see. And it's like, she's my role model. I've never met her. She died when my mom was 21. She died of colon cancer at the age of 47, 10 years before I was born.
Wow.
And my grandmother was a Holocaust survivor. She was a refugee. She lost everything. Had the positivity on life. Another example of what people go through. They can harden them, they can hate things, or they can see the positive of life. When she was on her deathbed, my mom wanted to drop out of medical school and be with her. And she was like, "What? It's your dream. Go to medical school." And mom was like being upset about the day and her pain. And she was like, "Oh, look at the sky. Look at the bird." On her deathbed. Okay. Number two, when my mom was, 7 or 8, they took a train and they had no money. And they were hungry. My mom was hungry my mom is 8 now. So when I say my mom, I call her Zippy and Bronya. Bronya was my grandmother and Zippy. And Zippy, little Zippy was hungry. And they only had enough money for one sandwich and one drink. So she bought them the sandwich, and my little mom, who had already learned things, started splitting it in half to share with her mother. But Bronya, my grandmother, said, "No, we split it 3 ways. One for you, one for me, and for someone less fortunate than us."
Oh, man.
In our neighborhood. She has nothing. I grew up with good fortune. My parents are physicians. My school was paid for. I went to the best schools. And so I'm very well aware of my privilege, but I don't call the privilege the good schools. I call it the love and lessons I got to 2 living parents. That's my privilege. And then all these other things came with it. So I'm very well aware of what I don't know or what other people's experiences have been. So then my mom has told me at times, you have Bronya in you. It's the best compliment I ever got. She goes, it's called like neshama, soul. And so I've had to learn. That's why I like the people around me are a little tougher. So I'm not such a softie. I'm like lucky. I don't want to be a pushover or be so sweet that people take advantage. And this reminds me to a very opposite topic. My friend Bill Dawes, she's a comedian, he's a character. He's a great guy. He was like, because I was actually, I'll just tell you, I was going through it was like almost a mental breakdown at one point. And he was like, one of the things he said was like, the key to life is figuring out how to create boundaries without being a dick.
Ain't that the truth?
So that was my next part of my journey and so forth. And so anyway,
how do you create boundaries without being a dick?
You tell me. I'm working on it. You got to use that thing, encourage that. If you says no and if someone has a problem with it, that's their problem.
Yeah.
You got to
Right, like who determines you're the dick?
That's a good question.
I think that's perspective.
Young Sergio.
I think that's perspective. And as good as that statement sounds about trying to do it without being a dick, I just think doing it with your most honest self and kindness, as kind as you can be, because people will always think you're being a dick, even sometimes when you're being nice.
If they're your friend or not then.
Yeah, exactly.
You know if you're friend or not.
And I'm willing to learn the lesson on who you are and how the situation makes you relate to me or what you felt about me. Because if it takes something so small like honesty or me setting a line or drawing a line in the sand, just saying I need some time or a moment, if that deters you from wanting to be close to me or ruins our friendship and the momentum we've built, then it wasn't genuine in the first place. So
You're such a dick for saying that.
yes, I am.
You have
And
to be careful how and when you say yes. Time is just one of the most precious commodities, and it is maintaining. And I'm not that efficient in how I do things. I'm working on it. So when someone asks me to make plans, or I need to make plans or something, I'm very wary before I say yes, how and when, because I have to, because I want to follow. I want to be there. I want to honor my word.
Yeah.
I don't like it when people
Be impeccable with your word.
Be impeccable with your word and commit to my things. So I'm like, I have to like make sure that all my commitments are aligned. And then I usually give up time for myself. Like I have this work thing to do and I'm like, when am I going to do it? Because I've already committed to a few things. And now I have a house and a fiance and 3 dogs and whole kinds of other new obligations that I didn't have as just an actor in an apartment all these years, with one little dog. And even before that, no dog.
that's something that I've been working on too. I can just shut down sometimes and just shut out and just block. But you have been a big inspiration in that, because he's very intentful and he'll call you 3 days before if he really needs to change the schedule. Like he's very thoughtful about your schedule, his schedule. And it kind of, when you have friends like that, he prepared me for us working together.
Wow.
Oh, I can name like a lot of people who prepared me. It's interesting. People prepared probably both of you for your relationship,
100%.
Relationship, for the relationship before. Everyone's kind of getting us ready for the next big thing.
That's right. And
What's the next big thing for you?
In what department?
That's a good question.
I'm getting married.
Oh, wait a minute. Say that again.
I'm getting married.
Whoa.
So exciting. That's
Congratulations,
a big thing.
brother.
There's even more stuff, but like that, I'm just not.
Yeah, like how does that feel?
Yeah.
I never thought I wanted to get married. I didn't.
Yeah.
Divorce is a 51% rate in this country.
Yep.
It's a bad investment.
Yeah.
It's a 49% success rate. That's blackjack odds.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
not good. Marriage is 2 contracts. It's a financial contract and a holy contract.
Yes.
So you got to keep your word. And I was like, I'll just be a great partner. Like, I don't want to feel trapped on paper and under some commandment. Like I just, and I won't give the world if I don't feel that way. I just knew too many people that got in divorces, and I just didn't want to be tied down. I was a floating butterfly. I was an actor. You know what I mean? I'll be there for you, but I just don't. I'd have a long talk with myself when I took myself on a health retreat. Say, what are you afraid of? I went on long hikes and talked to myself, and I said, maybe there is another plane of existence here, bigger than you. You read a lot of text, and that you can, one of the keys of life, don't make it about you, that I can live at. And she's amazing. And I also remember walking into my apartment. I had achieved 2 career dreams. Actually, the 2 dreams I had, I've gotten on a series. I worked on a series for 10 years. And I got a Broadway show, and I got to play the lead on a Broadway show. And that character's name was Amir too. That was a wild. And I did those. I remember when they were done, I did some other work. I was sort of back in the rat race, looking for work, auditions, trying to scrap together another gig. And it was just like, I was so focused on my goals so long, and meeting great people and, great partners. And I've had, a lot of wonderful girlfriends, and a lot of them are still my friends. And it truly, like, I have a lot of love for a lot of people. And I wish, at some level, I wish I'm going to stop. But I don't. But I'm.
Yes.
Like, really, I am. That was a process for me. When I walked into my apartment in the middle of this rat race, after a while, I walked in and I looked around, and I have a really nice apartment. I saved up, and I got this awesome apartment. And I was looking around. I was like figuring out my next audition. I have my dog, and like, is this it? Again, it doesn't mean happiness. Achieving your goals is satisfying.
Yeah.
It feels good. It's nice. The feather in your cap, most importantly for yourself. accolades. You're not going to lie. If you're an actor, you live in a capitalist environment, a capitalist country. Acknowledgement, reward. It's like in the air.
Yeah.
No, I'll just say this: accolades are really nice. They're nice. They feel good. I'm not above that.
Mm-hmm.
It really is about the work, though. You didn't become an actor for the accolades. The work really sets you free. I'm happy as I'm directing rehearsal for this. I was like, oh, I just worked this out. When you're on stage and you're like, the accolades I like to help with career, to help open other doors to move forward. Now, if that doesn't happen, you have to work on yourself in other ways. So I just like in the science of capitalism in this country, and you want to move, everybody wants to grow in their career. You want to grow in all aspects of life, including in your career and financially. Those help. Or you think they help, or you attach them, the Emmy Award winner, Tony Award nominee. You have those monikers. I have friends that have those, and I'm like, oh man, if I had done that, or oh wow, catch yourself though. Right away, catch yourself.
Yes.
You know who your true friends are. If something happens, you book a big job or something, you can see in the millisecond their eyes if they're happy for you or not.
Oh yeah.
And you know right away, even if they're jealous or wow, I wish that happened to me, but they're still more happy for you than they are jealous. You can see it in a second. I learned that early when I got my first pilot when I was 31, and I had like this part. And I remember the people telling, what's going on? I got this. And I saw people go, or some people be like, or they're like, and I was like, instead of the, oh my,
yeah.
Right. In 1 second, the truth comes out. So, and I learned that over time. And then I was like, oh, you have to protect your juju.
Yes, you
and
do.
Your energy. Who do I tell certain things to and when? They always talk about the thing, like when you're working on a project, don't talk about it with people until it comes out. Let the work speak for itself. And certain things, there's certain things I've talked about with certain people and the project didn't happen. I was like, I didn't.
How does the science of capitalism, right? That was a interesting term.
Sort of, I never thought
does that intersect with the science of miracles in any kind of way?
They're probably right odds with each other. No, capitalism can undo someone. You really have to work on either your faith or your meditation or your family values. There is something that I learned from my mom that in the sort of foundations of this country, the reason you get a tax break for donating to 501c3s is because this was founded as a Christian nation, and charity is an important tenement to sort of like, a lot of religions and so forth, the Islam, Judaism, Christianity, certainly the monotheistic Western religions. It exists in all religions, so that they give you a financial incentive. You're still giving money away, but at least you get a tax break on it. So there are mechanisms in this country to reward things outside of capitalism, like charity. And it's not all about greed and money, because I see the pluses and minuses of capitalism. And so capitalism exists and I live here. So within capitalism in this country, and I guess Europe too, maybe in India, I guess, where all the big showbiz hubs are, there is really huge opportunities. They are hard to touch, hard to reach, sometimes miracles, it seems like, but people reach them. And if like this movie makes $1 billion, then you will have more doors open to you. I didn't know that the best thing that happened to me because of Blacklist was a platform I gave to give back to the things that matter to me. That I didn't know that was, I just wanted to be an actor. I was dying to do a series, and that people have asked for me to help. And then I realized how important dogs were to me. And I get to do a lot of dog rescue and speeches and help with rescue campaigns. And my other two big sort of nonprofit subjects are mental health awareness, because that was really important to me. I lost an uncle to suicide. I've gone through a lot of stuff. Arts access and education. Not everybody gets access to a play or an art easel or a song, a choir. You don't have access to it. Yeah. That's insane to me. This is so important for my development. Yeah. So I get to, places that don't have that. That's where I like to sort of lend my time, because it's personal and it's real, because I can relate to it. Those are things that have changed my life. I learned that somebody once asked me, like when I started on the Blacklist and it got a following, people were like, oh, will you retweet my GoFundMe, or will you help me with this cause? Or would you speak at this women's homeless shelter event? We're doing a fashion show for this. So I was like, okay. And I remember I had to write a speech, and I was like, this is hard. I've never been a woman, and I've never been homeless. What am I doing here? Like, who am I? And I found places and I said that, and I found a way into it about, where my mother came from, and, not having things. And I remember telling my friend it was hard, and she was like, listen, people are going to ask you for a lot of things. This is creating a boundary. And I've had to create this boundary. It's not easy. Sometimes it's been not easy. Will you support this thing? And I said, well, I said, I don't relate to it, so I don't know why it should be me. Maybe look at this organization, but I support you.
Sometimes they just want the name. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's like, that's not right, because I don't connect to it, so I'll donate, $50, $100, $180, $300, depending on if I feel it's right. But they're like, pick 3 that matter to you. So I thought about it. Ironically, I didn't even realize when I picked them that they're apolitical. They're not blue or red. Dogs help people of all faiths, all political classes, all socioeconomic classes. Mm-hmm. Arts access and education is those who have it know its value, and those that don't have it should know its value. And mental health, it doesn't matter where, or how much you have.
Everybody needs that.
Billionaires commit suicide. So that was a new guiding force in my life that happened as a result of Blacklist. So I'm very grateful. Oh, I remember what I was going to say before real quick. I walked into my apartment and I was like, is this it? Like, am I going to just kind of scramble along? And I was looking at my apartment and I was like, I want to live in a house. But I want to live in a house with big windows and natural light. But I don't want to live in a house alone. I'm going to marry her. And at that point, I didn't want to get married, but I just saw it.
You were talking earlier about how certain things in your life, certain moments trigger changes as an actor. So now that you're on this new journey with life, how do you feel the new path that you've taken and some of the new choices you've made will affect you as an actor and your craft moving forward?
I'm really enjoying this new chapter a lot. There's a lot of love around me and a lot of windows.
Yeah.
I have 3 dogs. She came with 2 dogs. I came with 1. It's a lot of work. The big dog just had his 4th surgery in 6 months, So suddenly I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Yeah. But I'm like, I would sell my apartment to pay for 1 extra day of that dog's life. Like, there's no question that that's not even, I wouldn't even blink, I wouldn't be able to even look at myself. I wouldn't even, it's just like automatic, like one day. It's like, so balancing it is hard, because I used to just be dedicated to me. The acting journey has been a very self-involved journey. One of the things I loved about acting, though, it's a passport to the world, because playing different stories that take place at different time periods, different cultures, it's changed a lot in the industry, but I did have an opportunity when I was younger to play a lot of different ethnicities. So learned a lot about a lot of different cultures.
What was your favorite ethnic role?
Oh, I would answer it as my favorite role, and it's usually to do with the soul of the character or what the message of the story is taking. And there's no bias on if that character might have been Arabic or Persian or Indian. Look, the Kite Runner was Afghan or Afghanistan.
I loved you in that.
And I'll just tell you that that's a very major story.
Did they film that, by the way?
I think there was one recording of it.
Because to me, that should have been something that you should have put on Netflix or somewhere, because how deeply you went. Like, I've never seen you so involved, so like mind, body, spirit. Like, I can tell that it was taking so much of you to really pour into that role. The emotion, like I can't believe how much I cried during that. Like, it was brilliant work that I wish more people could have seen.
Is there going to be a rerun?
I don't think so. I was gifted with that opportunity, or achieved that opportunity, gifted with it. But it's such an important story to both the Afghan community. It's one of that book was translated into, 22 languages. It's been around for 20 years. It was around for 20 years. And they knew I wasn't from Afghanistan and still entrusted me with the role. Mm-hmm. I honored that. Like, that is the most precious pearl. I wanted to make sure every fiber of my being honored and did as much work and stayed as open as I could to the culture.
Yeah.
And when I thought there might be pushback, on it. And I was transparent. I learned when I was younger, I wasn't transparent because I was afraid I might offend people and I just wanted to survive. And I got cast as that. But I went through a journey. The industry went through a journey and I went through a journey. I was anxious before I had my psychiatrist. I'll tell a quick story. This is my favorite story. It was after a show, and I always stayed and said thank you to every single person. I enjoyed it. You know, you can call it getting your flowers, but I really enjoyed and learned what their experience was and so forth. And if they waited, it's like you know, some people different strokes for different folks. I enjoyed it, and there was another chapter of it. But these 4 Afghan girls, they were teenagers, were waited, and Salar is my friend who's from Afghan. He played the tabla. He's also just having him as my dressing room mate and being like, he's so proud of being Afghan, and he was so proud of me telling the story that was important to him that he just wanted the story told as best as possible. And so he loved what I was doing. And that meant I was like, I didn't even know, that was like a balance for me that, you know, we talked about it all the time. These girls afterwards, they were like, so can I ask you, like, where you're from? And I was like, you know, well, I'm Jewish. And the character is Muslim. They were like, you're Jewish? And I was like, yeah. I was, I'm open. I've learned, like, I was like, if someone doesn't like me for that reason, that's their issue, not mine, you know? And they were like, can I ask you something? I was like, you can ask me anything. And like, do you ever like want to hide the fact that you're Jewish? Because sometimes I want to hide the fact that I'm from Afghanistan. And I said, I used to. I don't hide it anymore. I used to be afraid to hide it. I used to hide it to avoid problems. And I said, and I told her exactly what I said to her. I said, listen, if somebody has a problem with it, it's their loss. You are just an amazing young, I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And I anticipated, my prejudice was I anticipated her to hate me, not hate me. I anticipated her to not ask that question. Do you ever want to hide it? Her love was, she was curious about it. I was like, you're Jewish. I didn't know. I was like, because there were some people that didn't like it. Yeah. Much less than I expected. Yeah. I thought it would be a much bigger amount. And that was my prejudice or my worry. And I got love from the Afghan community, a lot of love from the Afghan community. The other thing that happened, which was we were deep in the run. I was really exhausted, like deeply exhausted. But I did not miss a show, and I still loved it, and I still cherished it. And I said, I knew this was a once in a lifetime, and I had a responsibility to keep going for it. You know, that was all clear to me. But I remember walking up after the 8-show week. Our dressing rooms are 5 flights up. The glamour of Broadway. My ankle was shot. My knee was shot. I had a little bit of a neck injury. Everything was hurting. I was one step at a time. I was too tired to take my shoes off. I just had to sit there. And in the dressing room, Eric was out of the dressing room. God bless him, the sweetest person in the world. Said, are you okay? And I looked at Salar, and then I was like, man, my soul is tired. And he looks at me and he goes, that's how every Afghan feels every day. I got injected with perspective and a great new keep going. Since you got nothing to complain about. I mean, yeah. You're representing people that those girls can't go to school. You name it. Like the punishing circumstances, economy, oppression, you name it in Afghanistan. I get to do a Broadway play. Yeah. So it's my job to share that experience as best I can. So,
but you repurpose that pain.
Yeah.
Someone who can take that and create a lesson out of it, create an experience that serves them. Someone who's paying attention, who's listening. Where can people find you, learn more about what you're doing, and anything that you want to share with the audience that's going on today?
Yes.
And we're going to do a part 2 on this.
You guys could share. I have social media. It's my name. I'm on the all the platforms.
Check out the description down below.
Yes, everything's right here.
Spelled just like my name. That's where I guess I usually post about what's going on as much as I can. I've really neglected posting because I have no time. Yeah. Time management. You asked about career and balancing with this new chapter in my life. Time management, because I have a whole lot of new obligations now. I have an obligation to a house, a partner, 3 dogs. There's a longer distance of travel. I still have all my other obligations. There's a wedding. There's so much more that I haven't talked about. He knows a lot of it and stuff. There's a whole lot. happening now. So making sure I was like, oh, I can't lose my identity in all of this, because I'm starting to a little bit. And it's like a drug. It feels good. It's also exhausting. Yeah. I'm a storyteller. I'm an actor and a director. I must continue to work on that and give that my all if all of this is going to work. And that is where I'm working. That is my pendulum swing now. Right now, I'm directed a play, which we can talk about another time, just based on time.
Incredible, yes.
Yeah, that's going on right now. I'm running there right after this. We have a talk back that night, so I prepare my questions for our guests.
What's the name of the play?
It's called Lost in Del Valle.
Yep.
If I had time, I would talk about that story and that play and why I'm doing it.
Can we play like a little video clip or no?
Yeah, I think there's little previews and
we got social media. Online, yeah.
We'll put something up on there.
On social media and stuff. And
how long is the run?
Yeah.
We're only 3 more weeks, but we're hoping that it'll be another run after this. We're building. We went to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, which is a big theater festival in the world last year, and we got some nice notices. Okay, here's an example. We got nice reviews and got 2 awards. Unexpected. Nobody knew we were going to be there. Let me tell you why I appreciated them so much. First of all, it's validation of 3 years of work. Like, okay, I'm not insane. This is not just in my head. It's working. Other people can see that. More like a relief, not like more like relief, not like yay. But now we are able to take those and help market this next level of the production. That's what I meant by accolades. Okay, now we can take this and keep growing on it. And then we'll take this run and hopefully grow it to the next level and hopefully get it all the way to a miniseries, which is where I think it belongs.
I think that's exactly where it belongs. And it's going to be incredible because he's actually such a good actor. And I got to see a preview of it in the beginning and it was phenomenal, blown me away. And I remember how nervous you were about how people will receive it. There's, some naughty bits in there, but it's such a brilliant story. And the way he tells it, it's like you can't picture anyone else telling the story the way he does, with the whole package of who he is as a person. So I think this is going to be something that is going to go through the stratosphere for you and you have no idea. Mm-hmm. And what I'm also excited about is this new chapter of your life, because bringing that to your directing work, your writing work.
Something to bring.
And the roles you're going to be choosing after this.
Yes, already.
Yeah.
I already just turned something down because the time and value that's, sort of the cost and benefit analysis, and there's soul cost and benefit. You know what I mean? You got to give myself to a project. I give all of it. Time, obviously the most precious commodity, but also life force and life energy. I don't know how to not do something, whether it's acting or directing, without like, immersing. I feel like it's a duty to give you every fiber of your being. If you're an artist, like you have it. And so now there's only so many fibers of your being. But I did learn from the Kite Runner that if you sleep, hydrate, stretch, and pray/meditate, your life force comes back. 100%
true.
Like
I did 2 shows.
Like right before a show, all that, or just?
I did 2 shows. The shows were like 2.5 hours. I was on stage the whole time. For lack of a better word, I had to have like the character has breakdowns. Like 3 or 4 a show. That's 7 or 8 in a day. Physical, vocal, tired, mental. Go home, and I was like, I can't even go up the stairs. But I felt. People were like, are you tired? I was like, I'm physically tired, but I feel emotionally cleansed. Because there's a redemption at the end of that story. Like I felt like, I remember doing a production of Hamlet and Laertes like that. He goes through this whole breakdown. He asked, like, forgive me, and there was no redemption for him really. It's like barely. And I had a little bit of nervous breakdown because it never gets cleansed. I'm stuck in that void of that tragedy. Here it just turns the corner at the end. So I felt like you come out and the sky is bluer and the air is fresher and the smiles on the face are beaming to your soul. But I was beat up physically and the soul wilts. And sometimes there were shows I was like, how am I going to do today's show? I was like, I could barely move. And I showed up, people like, you okay? I was like, yeah, I'm tired. I'll be good. I'll be good. And just believing in the higher powers that it'll work out when I step on stage. And it was about 3 or 4 minutes before the show where I was like, okay. It took that entire 30 minutes of getting ready and just step by step, water, sleep. But if I sleep and then I would wake up and I would stretch, this is a lesson I learned there, and I would stretch and I would drink a lot of water. And then I would do a prayer. Jewish prayers with tefillin. The religious people put it on every morning or something. I never really did it. I've done it. I would do like my hybrid version where I would kind of hold it. Putting it on took so long. So I do the very reformed hybrid version. And it was really just a way in for me, to meditate. I remember standing on my balcony and always I would learn something that I couldn't have learned without that way in. Always, every day there was a new discovery. Every day. And It's not like I was like hooey, that you quiet the mind and the soul. Sometimes I couldn't get into it. So I would repeat. And then this is what happened. I learned. And then this probably, we'll call it a day on this one. Every day I would start being like, okay, help me get through this show. I believe that it's going to work out. Whoa, no, Amir. Every day my reflex was to start that way. And every day I would catch, the human condition. Okay, how am I going to do it? Nope. And I would reflex myself and said, no. Thank you for allowing me to get to today.
Who were you speaking to?
I don't know.
But I tell you what he was doing.
I don't know.
I can tell you what he was doing.
And then I was calm.
I can tell you what he was doing. And this is a full circle moment.
Can you tell me what he was doing?
He was summoning. He was bringing the miracle. Mm-hmm. And that's how we started the conversation about miracles. And you were literally creating your miracle and not realizing you were walking into it.
So it sounds like the science is just detaching, like not trying to make anything happen.
Detachment is a big Buddhist concept where like all suffering comes from attachment. That's it. You're nailing it on that is philosophical and religious. Detachment it's very hard to achieve, especially in a capitalist society.
And very much so. Very much so. Yeah.
It's the first thing I've nailed in 2 years. I gotta know something.
A very wise, young.
Learn from the best.
Detachment is a human way that we can work on, like a workout muscle, to work on that, to live in that space. Takes work. But why that happens, that I still don't know.
Right. Like
there's a scientific reason and there's a religious reason.
Mm-hmm.
I've always wondered how to do more of it, but I've never asked why it even works in the first place.
Watch Interstellar.
Yes. And that's our next conversation. We're going to have a full deep dive into that. And I just want to say thank you for showing up, brother.
Thank you for
being present, for blessing us with your presence, with your knowledge, and just sharing with us. And we love you. And stay tuned for more greatness, people. If you haven't, follow the Lucky Sergio Show.
Subscribe.
My brother Amir.
Check around the description.
On all platforms here below. You won't regret it. This man's journey is a blessing. He's been a blessing to me. And I hope this episode is a blessing to you all. Peace.
Thank you. Amazing questions. Thank you guys so much.
Oh my God. That was so good. Next time we gotta have this. I want to get 10 for me.
We go talk for 2 hours.